Arriba, guerreros, bienvenidos a otro video de 3T Español. Mi nombre es José González, yo soy el director ejecutivo aquí en 3T Español y hoy tenemos un video sumamente especial porque hoy estamos entrevistando al fundador y el CEO de 3T Warrior Academy, Coach JV. Antes de empezar el video, como siempre mencionamos, le decimos que nos sigan en todas las redes sociales. Por favor, compartan el video de hoy, dale like porque va a haber mucha información, especialmente en este cambio tan grande que tenemos en el sistema financiero. Tenemos una gran cantidad de recursos para ustedes. Es un video que va a ser para todo el mundo en la preparación más grande del cambio financiero. Y antes de empezar la entrevista, como siempre, les invitamos que se unan a la Academia de Guerreros 7 días gratis en el 2023. Tenemos recursos sobre la mentalidad, entender el dinero, la jubilación, seguros de vidas apalancados, una gran cantidad de recursos disponibles para cada uno de ustedes en este cambio del sistema financiero más grande en la historia humana. Vamos a traer a nuestro invitado especial del día de hoy. Él es el fundador, él es el CEO del 3T Warrior Academy. Ha sido un gran mentor para mí y espero que esta entrevista que les estamos trayendo hoy que les ayude en preparación a lo que viene en los próximos años. Sin más parar, vamos a traer al CEO y al fundador, Coach JV. Coach, welcome to 3T Español. How are you today?
I'm amazing. What an honor, man. What an honor to be here with you. What a journey we've been through, right? It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
man. It's been a great journey. It's been full of ups and downs, but I am so grateful that you took some time out of your incredibly hectic schedule to take a time here for the Spanish speaking community and really try to spread as much positivity and great information that we can so we can get ready for the biggest change in human history in the next few years. So I wanted to talk to you about that and pretty much let's guide these Spanish speaking
Yes.
warriors all over the world.
Yes, absolutely, man. It's such an honor. And you nailed it. It is the greatest transformation in human history, not only consciously, financially, the things going on with Israel. There's all kinds of things happening within the conscious awareness of humanity. But every time we look this way, unfortunately, there's another narrative going on this way, or fortunately, if you're awakened to it.
Absolutely. And basically what we're going to do in today's interview is I'm going to start with my questions in Spanish, then I'll quickly translate them in English, and then for the viewers that are going to be watching, all your responses will be subtitled right below you. So let's get started with today's conversation. Coach JV, usted ha estado en este área de las finanzas por mucho tiempo. Te educaste. Cuéntanos un poquito sobre tu historia y cómo pasaste de perder todo tu dinero a llegar a la libertad financiera. So, Coach JV, we've been watching your story for years now. You have an incredible story where you've lost all your money 3 times, you committed suicide, and now fast forward all these years later, now you're living a life of abundance, a life of complete financial freedom, spiritual freedom. So tell us, to the Spanish speaking community, who is Coach JV and how did you get from point A to point B?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just a reflection of all of you guys. And so point A to point B is a pretty long story. So I'll try to compress it as much as I can. So the difference, I'm very open about my faith in God and Christ, and I love Jesus Christ. And so the difference between who I was 17 years ago, attempted suicide on December 18, 2006, to today is Christ. And it's my relationship with God and my relationship with my spiritual side of this journey. So yeah, 17 years ago, I committed suicide on December 18, 2006, due to a massive opiate addiction, which is a pandemic right now within our world. And I woke up to a book called The Secret, which led me to Buddhism. Then it led me to Christ and led me to God, to the Bible. And I've been on this massive journey of just trying to understand what truth is in my own paradigm. And specifically, since, I've met you and all of our team members in the last 4 years, we've had just all of us have this radical transformation. And the thing that from my perspective now, is who I am today is I follow 3 rules in my life, which is number 1, I love God with all my heart. Therefore, I love humanity as I love God. Number 2 is I treat others as I want to be treated. And number 3 is I pull the log out of my eye before I pull the straw out of others. So I've lived with those principles and concepts and just been accepting. And so as I said in front of you today, I'm financially free, spiritually free, mentally free. And I'm just a student of life, right? I realized when I knew nothing, I gained everything. And I realized I had everything. I got everything I wanted. And so I've just learned that everything is inverted in this world, and all the things happening in this world right now, good, bad, or indifferent, are for us to transmute into light. So here we are today. And, you're a great example of that, just speaking things into existence. I mean, the reason why we're here is we were on a call one day and I had a thought about getting into the Spanish market, and you verbalized your thought. Jesus says, I don't care what goes into your mouth, that doesn't defile, it's what comes out of your mouth. And you said, hey, JV, have you ever thought about going into the Spanish market? And here you are, the CEO of 3T Espanol. And so it's, when I say I'm a reflection, everybody watching this is truly just a reflection. I mean, think about what YouTube is, what TikTok is. It's an energy field. It's an algorithm, right? So whatever is all over your feed is what you're feeling internally. It's an energy frequency field. And so if you're watching this, you're a reflection of us, right? What you see in us is what we like in you, and what you maybe don't like in us is what you need to work on in yourself. And so these are the concepts that I've embodied, and I'm around the coolest, most like-minded. It doesn't mean that I live this life of constant peace and prosperity. There's challenges. And so what I just said this morning on my I'm doing a presentation this morning, I just built out, but I said, in order to exist on Earth, the Earth must resist, because you have contrast in order to be physical, right? It's everything, the birthing process, everything. And so all this resistance that's happening in the world, everybody's turning away from it, but it's like, it's for us to transmute. So that's who I am today. And I'm excited to be here with you. And I'm very grateful. I want to, with gratitude, that you're taking this journey, and the journey that you're on is not easy. I mean, we're tapping into the Spanish market. I believe this community is underserved with this type of information. So I'm very grateful that you're willing to suffer through the process. It's very powerful information to the people.
Sí, estoy de acuerdo contigo, Coach JB, porque lo que sucede es que mucho de la gente latina, de la gente de habla hispana, pues no tienen la educación suficiente de entender el dinero, de cómo cambiar los ciclos de generacionales de su familia. Y quiero entrar en eso hoy. So, Coach JB, when we're talking about these things, the Spanish market, the Spanish speaking Latinos all over the world, they have not been educated. They've all been indoctrinated in this system, especially here in the United States, around money, around the job market, exchanging time for money, things like that. So I wanted to get into a conversation of, for you, like, what was your awakening and what was your aha moment where you're like, okay, this entire world that is existing around me, and you came from banking. How does this, what was your aha moment where you were like, okay, there's something definitely wrong with this system and I need to find a way to change it?
Yeah. So for me, it was when I was sitting in banking school, CBA executive banking school. And ironically, we were at this place called Furman University, which was, we would take over their campus during the summer. We didn't go to Furman in South Carolina, but the executives would take over the campus. And it was a liberal arts college and a very spiritual place. It was a religious studies college. And so it was very beautiful. It was like the first awakening I had. It was just like the guy that did the garden there. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. Well, that kind of like started opening me up to see things differently. I'm like, God, this building is beautiful. All these things happen. And when I was sitting in school, I started to get a gut feeling like this. I call it sacral. It's like in my gut. I started to feel uncomfortable. I'm like, what? The stuff that I'm learning, because as bankers, we're supposed to be financial educators. But what I realized is all the people coming into the bank were struggling. They were doing payday loans. They were, we weren't teaching them. We were teaching them how to get more credit cards, more debt. And, money was flowing like water back then. So everybody was buried in debt. Everybody's borrowing against their future selves. And when I understand how the banks operate, I'm like, wait a minute. We take people's money in, we lend it out, their money, we lend their money out, we put it in the capital markets, we make money off their money, and we index it. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, why don't we teach the people to do that? And so I started to see something was wrong with the system, that we weren't truly putting financial education. We were actually teaching people how to stay trapped in a system. So I asked a question, one of the professors, I said, hey, why is it this way? Why does the bank? He said, that's the way it's always been. And that's something flipped in me. I was like, just because that's the way it's always been doesn't mean it's right. And then I read a book called The Creature of Jekyll Island, which I highly recommend. Hopefully maybe it's translated in Spanish. I hope it is,
Sure it
because
is.
it's yeah, it's like when you read that book and you realize who the Federal Reserve actually is, it's a group of wealthy bankers, guys. Everything happening right now, what is today, October 11th, I think October 13th, 12th,
October
whatever.
12th, yeah.
October 12th, 2023. You guys know what's happening in the world right now. We're going to World War III. It's all monetary, guys. When you understand that it's all money, and the Jesus that I follow said it's already finished, we're already saved. And so when you understand that it is a financial and power war, you actually gain peace in that, because when you understand that you are the cure, you are the cause, right? So when you understand it's in you, that you can, you will, you must, and if you never give up, you'll be wherever you want. Then I started to see that. So I felt sick to my stomach working there. I was like, I can't be here. So I went on this journey of seeking truth, and I lost everything twice in the process. But that was part of the suffering process to get to the truth, which is my connection to source, understanding everything is one, everything is happening for me. So that's the journey that I went through. I left banking thinking, and again, I was focused on monetary. I'm Hispanic. And so from our Hispanic heritage, there's not a lot of wealth in our family. There was always the same conversations. It was around tax time. We had a good amount of money. We go on vacation. We never saved. We never talked about investing. It was just paycheck to paycheck. Let's just get by, go to school, get a good job. Getting a good job is enough. Never talk about growth or expansion, right? But then I started questioning, like, well, there's these other families. Like, why is one family really wealthy and we're struggling? Like, not that we struggled. My parents did well. We're a middle-class family. We weren't in poverty, but I just was like, I don't understand the separation between humanity, right? And I realized that it's an indoctrination thing, that we are truly indoctrinated to be workers. You go to school, you get education system, you get 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. What does that sound like? Corporate America, right? You bring homework home, you bring your work home, right? And so then you have weekends off. So they train us to be workers. And so the Hispanic community has heavily been trained to be workers, right? And so it's about the most important thing I want to get out of all this, in order to, because if you want to get into crypto and stuff, that's great, but it's more important in rewiring the foundation, because you'll always see somebody break out of a system. It's called the generational shifter. So someone in their family is like, wait a minute, they're the one that has to suffer through the process to rewire the foundation. Yep. Once you rewire the foundation, you will end up in a different situation. Once you end up in a different situation, then the judgment comes, because now you're in a different field. You're not greater than any other person. You are just in a different field with new education. And these people here don't understand the field that you're in. And so it's about bringing people with you through your vibrational frequency. So that's how I had the awakening. And it's like, I no longer try to change other people or convince people of things. I just work on myself and become the light. And then hopefully they'll see it in them.
Eso es uno de los mensajes que yo siempre le digo a nuestros guerreros, que es el autodesarrollo, trabajar en ti mismo. Work on yourself is the most important thing that you can do right now, especialmente en estos momentos que estamos pasando por guerra. Y vamos a hablar un poquito más de eso, porque eso tiene que ver con el cambio del orden mundial de Ray Dalio. So vamos a hablar un poquito de lo que está sucediendo con la guerra. Pero bien interesante, because when we're talking about rewiring the foundation, right? We've been indoctrinated all these years, our parents, our grandparents, and this goes back, and we're gonna go deep, and this might sound conspiratorial, but it's not. This goes all the way back to the Rockefellers, to the J.P. Morgans, to the Carnegies, back during the Federal Reserve days. And I was watching a very interesting documentary on television and radio broadcasting. Guess who was the owners of NBC, ABC, and CBS? J.P. Morgan. And he's the guy that pretty much created programming, or those companies created programming to what we have today. So it was so amazing that in 10 years from the creation of the television, in 10 years from going to 0.2% in 1944 to 1952 to over 90% of people having a TV set in their home, right? So when you see things like that, and you see the people who are in charge of putting these things out into the public, and you see what they wanted to do, which the goal was to have a family dynamic, right? So the programming on TV was all about family, and how especially during the 80s and 90s. So we saw that. So when we're seeing all these things going all the way back, and now we're here at war, we're here in There's two wars going on. There's one in Russia, there's one in Ukraine, and there's another one going down in Israel right now. The monetary system is being switched. When you look all the way back 100 years ago to where we're at now, cell phones in everybody's hands, getting that message, instilling fear, what are the things that are you preparing for going back and looking, and then what you can do right now to really shift and change that cycle, knowing what's happened in the past?
Beautiful. Yeah. So in order to predict the future, like a lot of people say, oh, JB, I didn't predict anything. I just studied the past. In order to predict the future, you need to study history. His story repeats itself. We'll go back to the television thing. That's why they call it a television. Tell you a vision. It's programming. They got the family around the TV to program information and to channel information into you, right? And so you nailed it. And so if you were Jesus says the devil is the prince of the earth. If you were the prince of the earth, what would you do? You would create a system that you could program people. So in order to understand future, you have to understand history. So we're going to talk about financial and how people can change, because I don't know a lot of people that they're struggling to pay their bills that makes them very happy, right? So let's just be honest. When you have financial freedom, it does cause a lot of less stress. It does. I mean, we have a monetary system. You have to feed yourself. You have to feed your family. It's not about Lamborghinis and Ferraris. It's about freedom, right? Now that I have financial freedom, I can travel around the world. We can do retreats. We can do all these different things. So it's not that you have to have money to be happy, but it sure as hell helps you with resources. So I just want to make that very clear, because, we're not talking about Lambos and mansions, but I think everybody watching this would be okay with having financial freedom. So what would I do financially based on historical patterns? So this happens every single time. Every single time a monetary system needs a switch, we go to war, right? It's almost mathematical, right? So we had the 7-year Shemitah, which is biblical, which ended last year, which were a year after the Shemitah, which the people who it's agriculture in the Bible. It's like people who planted the seeds in 2022, which would be us, the crypto people. 2023, it starts to get chaotic. And then 2024, we're going to reap our crop. So you're in a very good position right now. The reason why we're going to war is because America's buried in debt. There's more debt than there is money in the system. Most of our debt is held by China and Japan. Russia invading Ukraine was the financial narrative about sanctions around the SWIFT system, the old archaic banking system. So BRICS is coming together to break free from the petrodollar and the US dollar. It's all played out. I'll let other people do their research, understand what Israel represents in a biblical sense and a historical pattern sense. Israel was invaded in 1973. Exact day, October 7th, 1973. 50 years later, the 50-year Jubilee, which is biblical, right? 50 years later, they invade Israel on October 7th, 2023. Ironically, 1971, we detached from the gold standard. They didn't have our gold, so they didn't have our money. And now they don't have our money once again. And so now we're going to war. And then oil prices increased, right? Gas prices are shooting through the roof right now. So what's going to happen is the normal everyday person is going to struggle. So now, this is where we're going to talk. And again, before I say this, I want to say my heart goes out to all the families that are suffering war. I serve my country in America. This is not about discounting anything happening. There's stuff happening. What I am saying is that it is proven and factual that the greatest time to transform your family's wealth is in chaos and in destruction. It's a fact. That's how the bankers do it. That's how they do it. So when everybody's panicking, you should be buying. The markets are going to be in a panic right now until about probably mid-year 2024. And it's a great opportunity for you to follow this channel, to understand how cryptocurrency operates, blockchain operates. You can invest in a speculative asset that could make you a large amount of money in a short amount of time. We'll never have this opportunity again in our living history. It won't happen again. This next setup will be the next 100 years. This will be the next 100 years. So just like you nailed it, the 1900s, they changed our education system, our food system, and our healthcare system. So that's what you're seeing right now. We're going to blockchain technology, tokenization. Everything will be tokenized. The SWIFT system will still exist. SWIFT will exist. It'll be tokenized, though. It's not going to be the same SWIFT system. It's not going to be, we went from going from bank to interbanking to debit card to credit cards. Now we're going to cross-border payments. So, watching your channel, our 3T War Academy channel, we're big on cross-border payments, like the cryptocurrencies. So that's what we're here to educate you guys on, is understanding those ecosystems. Because if you, put maybe a little amount of money in there, maybe stop buying coffee every day at Starbucks and invest $4 a day into these speculative markets, you could radically transform your family's life. So your banks are going to be heading towards blockchain technology, and they'll there's an opportunity for you to invest in those types of things. We focus on insurance, business. The greatest time to build companies is in a recession. People don't believe that, but it's the greatest time to build companies. How do you become wealthy? So for the Hispanic community, like, how do you become wealthy? The key to wealth is to solve a massive problem for humanity. So if you're sitting there and you're an idea person and you see a problem, it's not about money, guys. Don't go out there. If you want to make money, go sell back scratchers on Amazon, right? But if you want to change people's lives and you want to become wealthy, solve a massive problem. That's how we became wealthy. We're solving massive problems for people. So I'll pause for just a moment. That's a lot for the
I think what you just said is so important. Lo que acabas de decir es tan importante que para una persona hacerse rico, tienes que resolver un problema. So, en el caso de nosotros, yo no estoy haciendo esto para hacerme rico. Yo estoy haciendo porque tengo un propósito que me vino a mi mente y yo digo que esto es una intervención divina de que mi propósito es para ayudar y educar a la gente lo más que yo pueda. So, when you're saying about accumulating wealth and solving a problem, that is the main reason why I'm here, because I like to call it divine intervention. I had a dream while I was in Puerto Rico witnessing the height of inflation in Puerto Rico, and that dream came to me that my purpose was to help and educate Spanish speakers all over the world, and here we are, so it's such a great dynamic. But it's so important that we go back into history and understand history so we can understand what we're dealing with today. Es bien importante de regresar a la historia y ver lo que por lo que estamos pasando hoy. A year ago, you and I had a little bit over a year ago, you and I had a great conversation, and I had just joined the academy. 3T Español didn't exist yet, but we had spoken. I had asked you the question, in about 10 years, where are you going to see the crypto market? And a year later, a lot of the stuff that you said a year later has become to fruition. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the current move that we're seeing with JP Morgan Chase and BlackRock, and to get a little bit more of a better understanding, because they said one thing a few years ago, and now they're completely flipped, like the politicians. So quiero que nos explique, por favor, lo que estás viendo cuando estamos viendo estos cambios, porque nosotros tuvimos una entrevista el año pasado, y el año pasado tú habías mencionado de que en los próximos 10 años los bancos van a estar custodiando tus criptoactivos y van a haber los bancos que van a estar utilizando la tecnología blockchain, y acabamos de ver a BlackRock y JP Morgan hacer una colaboración, acabando de debutar la nueva tecnología de ellos de blockchain, cuando años atrás estaban diciendo que el Bitcoin era veneno de rata, era malo para el público. So, Coach, what are your thoughts of what you've seen in the last 24 to 48 hours after our conversation last year?
Yeah, wild, huh? It's like, so 2017, Jamie, and I'm going to paraphrase, Jamie Dimon and Suhu is the head of JP Morgan, which JP Morgan and BlackRock run our country. It's not the president. So BlackRock CEO is Larry Fink, who is on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum to move the mission and purpose forward. They're the largest asset manager in the world. They both said things like, cryptocurrency is a fraud. It's for scammers. All these. I'm paraphrasing what they said. Jamie Dimon, I think a year ago, said that Bitcoin's a pet rock, right? And talking about, but they always said blockchain technology is here to stay, right? So when people hear cryptocurrency is a fraud, they associate people don't realize that a lot of cryptos are a technology. It's a payment system, right? So they make it very clear that it's all one and the same, right? That these FUDsters or FTX and all this stuff, it's all one and the same, right? It's not. It's just like within the financial system, you have, people who are scammers, people who are not scammers. So my point behind this is yesterday there was a big announcement made that JP Morgan and BlackRock, they just did their first tokenized transaction. Everything will be, so let's talk future. So everything will be tokenized. I came from the banking system. It is happening right now. So the very thing that your bankers and your financial advisors and tax accountants told you is a fraud. And they were told this, though. It's not their fault. It is not their fault. Don't go blame your financial advisor. They were indoctrinated to think cryptocurrency is a fraud, right? They will be next reaching out to you in the near future, probably next 24 months, and saying, hey, do you want to get into a Bitcoin ETF? Do you want to start to store your crypto here? Because they will start to be commissioned get commission based on those products and services, right? So what's going to happen is your bank, eventually you're going to see Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo custody your crypto. It's all about safety, right? So how do they move the public? Through fear. And then whoever creates the fear comes up with the safety protocol, right? So what you're going to see is crypto's a fraud, crypto's a fraud. And then what you're going to see is, well, if they're telling you crypto's a fraud, that means they're buying it. If they're telling you that's the best thing ever on the news, that means that they're selling it. So if you can learn to flip it. So like, for example, we have exit plans from 2024 to 2025. When this goes parabolic straight up, you should be doing the opposite of the public. So when the news starts going, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to 200,000, that's when you should start thinking about selling your cryptocurrency. When the news is saying that it's the worst thing ever, that it's a fraud, then that's probably when you should be accumulating. If you can just learn to invert everything and everything they're telling you to resist, it's not a one-to-one, but if they tell you to look this way, I learn to turn my head this way, and I figure out why they're telling me to fear something, because it's usually what they're building.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is that, when the public is listening to the bankers and the media, and they're just instilling way and way more fear. So I think if you can take that fear and flip it to the other side, I think you're going to be way more successful. And I'm speaking from personal experience, right? Because when I started with my awakening a little over 2 years ago, and I came in, within the community, I really started everything. The veil was lifted for me, man. The veil was lifted for me, because now I see everything that's wrong. It's like literally seeing the matrix, right? So es bien importante que cuando tú estás mirando los medios, estás mirando las noticias, estás viendo estos banqueros están hablando, es bien importante de hacer lo contrario de lo que ellos dicen. So, si ellos te están hablando acá, tu trabajo es hacer lo contrario, just like what you say every single video. When they're saying something on this side, when they're telling you to look this way, your job is to look the opposite way. That is what you're supposed to do, right? So that has been life-changing for me. Eso ha sido bien cambiante para mí. Pero vamos a entrar ahora además de lo económico, en cuestión de lo que está pasando con las finanzas. Vamos a hablar un poco ahora de los recursos que nunca nos han educado. So, vamos a hablar un poco, además de los criptoactivos, los otros recursos que los bancos usan, que los millonarios usan para crear riquezas. Nosotros vimos, estudiamos las familias de los Morgans y las familias de los Rockefellers, cómo ellos pudieron trasladar toda su riqueza a su familia por generaciones, y no fue por dinero, fue por seguros. So, quiero tener un poquito de descripción de los diferentes recursos que estos billonarios usan para no solamente proteger su riqueza, pero trasladarlo generacionalmente. So when we're navigating these markets, now that we're getting ready for the bull market, and instead of getting wrecked, we want to try to secure as much of those profits as we can. But nobody has ever shown us in the history of humanity how to protect those profits, how to protect that money. And when we look back in history, to the Rockefellers, to the Morgans, the way that they were able to keep all that wealth and pass it down generationally to their kids and grandkids and great grandkids was through insurance and other vehicles that the main public are not aware of, because we are not taught this. So I know that this is a big part of your foundation and your wealth pillars. So if you can break down what wealth pillars are and how and what tools can people start looking into heading into the bull market so they can protect their wealth and grow that wealth.
Yes, absolutely. And so the cool thing is we created a free guide, and it's in Spanish now too as well. And I believe there'll be a link down below where you can do this. And what I'm going to explain right now will be in there. It's absolutely free. There's no hoops you have to jump through, and you'll get it fully in Spanish. Yep, perfect. So, yes, I love it. So basically, this is our 5 pillars of wealth. If you can go up just a little bit to the page 3, I think it is. So these are what we call this is perfect. Thank you. This is what we call our 5 pillars of wealth. And so basically we have personal development as the the bottom is the foundation, which is mind, body, and soul. So for us, whatever your relationship is, we believe in a spiritual connection. I believe in God. I follow the life of Jesus. For me, the foundation is mind, body, and soul. The 5 pillars of wealth. Number 1 is self-development, guys. If you don't rewire the foundation, you're going to end up in the same situation. I'm going to say that one more time. If you don't rewire the foundation, you're going to end up in the same situation. It doesn't matter how much money you make in crypto. If you don't rewire the foundation, that's why lottery winners go bankrupt. That's why a lot of athletes that win big contracts, they go bankrupt because they didn't rewire this, right? So then that goes in the 5 pillars of wealth. You got the capital markets, which are cryptocurrency, stock markets, things like that. Then you have insurance, you have business, and then you also have pre-IPOs, right? So let's talk about the things that if you're just getting into the financial realm or this is new to you, let's talk about the things that you can control right now, right? So getting into pre-IPO, that's going a little bit deeper. Business, run off and start a business if you haven't done it. Let's talk about things that you can control right now that could give you an immediate gain, and I'll share with you how I secure, compound, and grow. So I started out with cryptocurrency for me. Now remember, it's very speculative, guys, because that's why the regulations coming in, it's very volatile. But when something is very speculative, you can make a large amount of money because the speculation makes it swing really heavily. But remember, you have to do the opposite. So right now, crypto is not popular. It's being FUDed out. FUD means fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So if you're going to get into cryptocurrency, make sure you follow this channel every single day, but pick like 5 tokens. Don't try to get like 30, 40 tokens. Focus on things that are actually going to change the world. One that we believe in, and I'll just share you guys, XRP, right? XRP, and I'm giving an example. It's a cross-border payment. It's already being used all over the world. So that is if I was a betting man, I would say that's going to do pretty well, right? It's pretty speculative, but I would bet it would do pretty well. So what I did is I cut out all my frivolous spending. I cut out all my junk spending, and I started investing the money that I saved from that into these things. And I just set it and I forget it. Then we talk about insurance, right? They teach you how to insure your life. The bank does, but they do not teach you how to insure your wealth. Insurance is a tier 1 capital. It's the safest capital in the world. So banks own what's called bank-owned life insurance, which is BOLI. They take your money and they insure your money. So they have insurance. So we insure. Now the life insurance has there's death benefits. There's the term which everybody knows about, which is you get a life insurance policy and then you die and then it goes to your family, right? Well, there's insurance policies where you can secure, compound, and grow your wealth. So, and it's, there's more complexity to it, but it's just about looking into things like index universal life. You can look at annuities. So if you get boom in crypto, a lot of people go broke because they go buy things they can't afford to impress people they don't like. So if you're someone who gets a large amount of money, you can put it into annuity and get a payment for the rest of your life, right? If you're someone who's not really good with saving money, things like that. So insurance is my wealth pillar. That's the one that builds. And then business is really important. So if you're an entrepreneurial spirit, the great thing about technology and, in the Hispanic population, if you have access to a cell phone or an iPhone, I've built $1 million ecosystems off of social media, which is wild. Information, technology, and attention are the new gas and oil. Then what else do we have? We have precious metals. Precious metals are really important. So Venezuela is a great example. When their economy collapsed, people barter with silver. Silver's a great, it's God's money. It's gold and silver. Now, just so you know too, it's not, I don't think it's tier 1 capital. It's like at the top of the market. It's kind of like the capital markets because it can be manipulated by the banks, but gold is gold and gold. So to give you an example, silver, when the dollar since 1913, the dollar has collapsed, silver has maintained its value. Right. So it gives you a little bit of security. Right. So what we work to create is safety and security. So insurance gives me safety. The precious metals gives me security if something happens, right? If the dollar collapses. And then businesses allow me to beat inflation. So those are things. And then cryptocurrency. So if you're just new to it, but the key though is next year as everybody's coming in, you have to have an exit plan, right? So you just have to rewire your brain because it's called the greed gene, right? So imagine your portfolio going up $10,000 a month and you're making more money you've ever made in your life. You're going to think that that's going to keep happening. It doesn't. It comes collapsing down. 2021 to 2022, we lost 85% of our portfolio.
Oh yeah.
85%. It was like we were making thousands of dollars a day. And all of a sudden it was like, boom, it was gone. But that was a great lesson that we learned because we had the greed gene. No matter how much we trained our brain, that we still had the greed gene. I should have pulled a lot more profits. So failures are not failures. They're just opportunities to learn, right? So we learn now. So you're going to hear us preach all the time. You have to exit because if the news was here to help you, and the banks are here to help you, then why are so many people broke? There's only 294,000 millionaire accounts in one of the largest 401k managers. Millionaire accounts, that's it, in America. Think about that for just a moment. If 401ks are designed to make you rich, then why is there only 294,000 millionaire accounts in the 401k, in the largest asset manager for 401ks? Guys, the system is designed to keep you poor. And so, and again, what we're teaching you is not an easy journey. They say make the path to the light difficult so the weak and weary will not follow. But we all suffer though, right? We're suffering in poverty. We're suffering in not being able to take our family on vacation or get the resources we need. And unfortunately, what kind of bums me out is this is why we're trying to help so many people, because there is no scarcity, guys. There's enough money for every single person in the world to be extremely wealthy. We've been built a scarcity model into us. There's food all over the world. There's fruit trees. So scarcity and fear is built into us by the television programming, the indoctrination, and the system. They're quoted saying in 1900s that we have enough educated people, we need a society of workers. They're quoted saying that, these elite people, I won't call it who it is, but they're like, hey, we have enough educated, we have enough doctors and lawyers, let's get a bunch of workers. And that's what we're experiencing right now, but it won't change until you do.
Yeah, I think what you hit on right there is so important. Is yeah, there's going to be all these external forces and all these things. You can have all the, financial education in the world, but if you don't execute that financial education, you're always going to stay in that same situation, right? So if you're gaining knowledge, you're just consuming it unless you take action on it, and then it turns into wisdom. So I think that's so important that, when we communicate this to everyone, and I'm about to say it in Spanish, that, that you really not understand, but understand, because you're not under anyone. You understand what is going on, right? So ahora mismo, cuando estamos hablando, y lo que acabas de describir es algo sumamente importante, que tenemos todas estas distracciones, y puedes entender el dinero, puedes estar lo más educado en el dinero y tener todo el conocimiento en el dinero, pero si no tomas acción en eso, solamente estás consumiendo la información. Necesitas coger esa información y actuar en la información para que esa información se convierta en sabiduría. Y en cuando más sabio te pongas, más inteligente te vas a poner con el dinero. So let's shift gears a little bit here, Coach, because we've been talking about money now for about half an hour. I want to get into some deep stuff with spirituality, because spirituality and financial is tied together, right?
Yes.
And most people won't think that, but the more research that you do, the deeper you go into, and you find the origin of money, the origin of banking. This is a rabbit hole that you can really go down to. When I did my own research, and I found out that, the banking was created by the Knights Templars, and that, we're coming up on October 13th, Friday the 13th. The Knights Templars were all burnt at the stake on a Friday the 13th. So, I mean, these are all esoteric things that we look at, but they all translate into the money. So from symbolism, from occultism, we can get into Freemasons, Illuminati, whatever, right? But this is all tied into the financial system. So when we're looking at the collapse and the changes and everything that we see on an esoteric plane right now, how would you just really filter all that information with all the knowledge that you have? It just feels like a bombardment of information, but it's information that you can't ignore, because again, it goes back to the past. Often history rhymes, right? So how do you filter that, and how do you practice discernment with all that information? Because it can be overwhelming once you see all that information. So let me just say that in Spanish really quick before you answer. So cuando estamos mirando la historia del dinero, no solamente porque llevamos hablando ya del dinero mucho tiempo, pero el dinero y la espiritualidad están completamente juntas. Y cuando estamos mirando la historia del dinero, la historia de la banca, nosotros podemos ir cientos y cientos de años atrás hacia los templares. Y los templares crearon lo que es el sistema bancario. Y hay muchas cosas esotéricas que están sucediendo cuando vemos el dinero, el simbolismo en el dinero. ¿Por qué todas estas cosas están conectadas, y cómo uno puede combatir y usar el discernimiento para que no te quedes distraído en toda esta información, no solamente esotérica, pero financieramente también. So how do you handle all the bombardment of information that we all know from the origin, and just being able to use your discernment?
Yeah, great question. So what is discernment and where does it come from? It comes from origin. Okay. So there's esoteric and there's exoteric. So the rule is it has to be hidden in plain sight. And the only way you can see it is by going inside. So all this stuff is hidden in plain sight. Okay. In order to find calmness and peace within this is to go internal, right? You brought up origin. So think about your body as a system that gives you the answers and shows you the things that are exoteric that are hidden in plain sight. So in order to see the things that are hidden in plain sight, in order to get people to not see the things that are hidden in plain sight, you would disconnect them from the origin, which is the nervous system, right? So I'll explain it this way. And, people can believe this or not, but I'll explain it as best I can in a practical sense, right? So we come into the body, we come from, biblically, we come, from the dust, we go back to the dust, right? And after you die and your body goes into the earth, what's left? Your skeleton, right? Your nervous system. So your skeleton is a nervous system. And so Jesus said the devil is the prince of the earth. And if it's exoteric, they have to hide it in plain sight. And the only way you can see it is by going internal. What would you work to do? You'd work to disrupt my internal through my food, through the information, the television programming, and you would keep me trading time for money so I can't pay attention, right? So in order to see what's hidden in plain sight and give yourself peace and understand that the devil is the prince of the earth and he works to disrupt the family through the church, right? He does it through the church. I'm not saying church is bad. What I'm saying is what we say that in church, people say that in church, right? What does the devil attack? The family, right? So what he works to do is he attacks the family by getting us to believe in something outside of ourselves. And so he attacks the nervous system through our food. He messes with our food system. So we're not connecting to or we're disrupting our nervous system basically through our food, through what we see and what we hear. It's frequency, right? So our frequency is off. Music has changed. The vibration of everything has changed. Right? We're trading time for money. We don't have time to pay attention. So we go sit in front of a television programming. We have some alcohol, which lowers our frequency. No judgment here. And then we get depressed. So we go take synthetic drugs. And so what happens is they disconnect us from our nervous system, which doesn't allow us to see what has to be hidden in plain sight. So in order to see what is actually exoteric is hidden in plain sight, is you have to go internal. So you start to heal the body through fasting, through eating whole food. Shop on the outside of the store, right? Pay attention to your family. Instead of having a house, build a home, right? Stop trading time for money. Use money to free up time. And then when you start to see that you're actually sovereign, that you're already free, and that the devil is the prince of the earth, and you come into the earth inverted, and when you reverse engineer it, so from birth to 8 is your programming phase, right? That's your parents and your grandparents' indoctrination, their programming. From 8 to 80 years old, you're cycling that programming, like it's coming up as your subconscious mind programming. So the reason why rich parents have rich kids and poor parents have poor kids, because all we're doing is repeating their cycles. Our job is to transmute those cycles to ascend, right? That's what Jesus was trying to teach us, right? So one of the things that the way that I look at it, so Jesus, when he was born from birth, we'll get really into spiritual. And this is just my opinion, please. I'm deep into learning. I love all religions. I love all people. I love humanity. So from the womb to 8 years old, or excuse me, to about 14 years old, Jesus was spitting fire in the synagogues. Like he knew the Bible. He was tripping these people out. They're like, whoa, this guy, young man is in there. Just the knowledge, like this guy is unbelievable, right? But they didn't kill him then. Then he leaves for 18 years. Where does he go, right? We don't talk about it. Where does he go? Well, there's documentation, but he leaves for 18 years and he comes back for 1 year and they kill him. My opinion is he was taking the hidden in plain sight knowledge that is internal and bringing it external. And his disciples were thugs. They were us. They were broken individuals like us. They were the unrighteous people. They weren't in the robes, and they weren't up there. He picked Solomon, who was a gambler, who was a degenerate, who didn't believe in himself, but his wife believed. She was a believer, right? Then he had Matthew, the tax collector. He had Mary Magdalene, who was had demons in her, right? Who they thought she had demons in her, and he baptized her, and the demons were gone, right? So he had these people just like you and I who are broken, who are watching these videos, who are fed up with the bullshit. And it's like he was selling to us, like he took them and connect them back to their ethereal body. He taught fasting, connection, meditation, breathing. He went from village to village. He went to the guy that was sitting on a mat that was waiting for a fountain, waiting for Trump to come back to save him. And he was sitting on a mat and he says to him, do you want to be healed? And he doesn't care. The Pharisees are watching. He goes, no, look at me in the eyes. Do you want to? He says, yes, I do. He goes, pick up your mat and walk. Trump ain't coming back to save you, man. And he picks his mat up and walks. And the Pharisees are like, uh-oh, he's telling them the secret. That's just my opinion. And so that hopefully that will hit people's heart and understand that as you sit today, after you get off this video, you can change your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You can take massive action and you can control your reaction to things happening in the world. You can change the way you feel about yourself. I am powerful. I am strong. In the Bible, it says God's name is the great I am after Moses came down from the mountain. The great I am powerful, I am strong. God doesn't want you to be like, I am not worthy, I'm not worth it. He doesn't want you to beg. He said, pray with discernment, right? Discernment in your heart, intentions like, God, thank you for the abundance. Thank you for my life. Thank you. Pray for what you already want to feel within that present moment, and then go take action on that. Right. And so it's like God gave you the three things you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. And so I want to go too deep into it, but it is it's all hidden in plain sight. It's called a bank for a reason. You put your money in it, they dam it up. What does a bank do with water? It dams it up. They take your money and make it current. That's why it's called currency. So we just take our money and we do what the banks do. We make it current. There's no invisible enemy stopping you from being great. That's what I discovered. There's no invisible enemy. JP Morgan's not stopping me from being great. BlackRock's not, the World Economic Forum isn't stopping me. It's my decisions. And so what we do is they want us, what we're fighting about, that's what they want. They want us separated. They want us going against each other. They want religious divide. They want your skin color going against another skin color. They want the Jews and the Muslims and the Christians all fighting against each other. It's a holy war. Jesus said it's already finished. The Bible's already finished. It's history. It's his story. Right. So that's what I have to say about that piece. And, everybody, there's nobody greater than any other on this earth. We are all meant to ascend. We're all meant to be the greatest. And I believe that's what Jesus, and I believe Jesus is a risen king. I love Jesus Christ. I praise Jesus Christ. And I think that's what he was here to teach us. And I think that's what's changed my life. That's the difference between my 17 years ago and me, is Christ is trying to understand what he was teaching.
Y eso es algo bien poderoso, Coach JB, porque cuando estamos mirando la situación que está pasando ahora mismo alrededor del mundo y estamos viendo, pues, mucha gente siendo afectada por lo que está sucediendo afuera y no se están concentrando adentro, y tenemos estas enseñanzas de Jesús que están en la Biblia, que nosotros somos los creadores, nosotros podemos hacer las cosas por nuestra cuenta y no necesitamos fuerzas exteriores para realizar lo que queremos hacer. Igual como Jesús dijo, si te quieres levantar, pues coge tu alfombra y levántate. Eso es lo mismo que tenemos que hacer nosotros. Y ese es el mensaje que yo siempre le digo a nuestros guerreros, que podemos utilizar y podemos. Sí, las únicas cosas que podemos controlar son nuestros pensamientos y nuestras emociones y nuestras reacciones. Todo lo demás es neutral. So, ahora mismo, cuando estamos viendo eso es lo que quiero comunicar, because what happens is that it's so important that when we are seeing this and we have all these exterior forces bombarding us left and right, the common message that I say every single day on our videos on 3T Español is that the only things that you can control are your thoughts, your reactions, and your emotions. And when we're looking at Jesus's teachings in the Bible, when he says, if you want to walk, pick up your mat and walk, that is telling you that you can do it. We are here to be creators. And that's what we communicate. We're here to be creators. Yes. We're here to spread the light for everyone and show the positivity and realize that we are the kings on this earth. We are the creators. And that was the message that Jesus was trying. Well, wasn't trying. That was the message that Jesus brought. But the problem is, just like you said, the king of the earth is the devil, and he will instill fear. He will manipulate your emotions and manipulate your thoughts in order to get you away from what Jesus was trying to preach. Amen. Well, Coach, I know I want to be respectful of your time. I'm very, very grateful that we
too,
got
man.
to spend some time here and communicate to the Spanish speaking community and Latino community. Last few moments here before you got to head out. What message do you have for the Latino community, Spanish speaking community on the next year or two and what we can expect and, something positive for them?
Yeah, this is and I'll do the same that I say on my podcast every day, because this is the only thing you can expect. So what you believe in your heart, you think in your mind, will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes your external activities. So what I'm saying there is, what is the future? What do you want it to be? Pick up your mat and walk. What do you want it to be? So yes, the world has changed dramatically. It's gotten way worse since 2020 in the physical, but why has my life improved dramatically when the world is going into chaos? Because I changed my heart, I changed my thoughts, I changed my words, I changed my reality. So stop believing that it's an outside macrocosm to the micro. It's the micro to the macro. How you feel is so important. Connect to the field. Use your imagination. That's why Jesus said to get in the kingdom of heaven is to be like these lowly children. What he meant by that is to start to create, you said it, start to expand consciousness. We're not supposed to repeat this story over and over again. You're supposed to take the lessons that your grandparents and parents taught you and expand consciousness. So that's what I have to say. And I just want to also say, I love you very much, Jose. I appreciate everything you're doing. I love the Spanish community. I love everybody. I love everybody. But again, that's the answer. The number one used word in the Bible is agape. It's love. And that's the answer. So.
Well, Coach, nosotros aquí en 3T Español estamos bien agradecidos de que hayas pasado un rato con nosotros y vamos a estar tratando de hacer estas llamadas o esta entrevista una vez al mes para que se comunique Coach JB con la comunidad latina. Coach, I'm very, very grateful that you were able to spend some minutes and some times with us here at 3T Español and being able to spread not only the message of light, love, and positivity, but that we are the change, we are the creators, that we can manifest anything we want as long as we change our thoughts and control our emotions and reactions. And again, we're very, very grateful that we get to put this out here. I also wanted to bring back and recordarles a ustedes, guerreros, que tenemos el libro gratis de la guía del guerrero hacia la libertad financiera. Esta es la hoja de ruta que Coach JB hizo para irse de perder su dinero 3 veces a irse a la libertad financiera, cambiando la fundación de la mente. Eso lo vamos a tener disponible. El enlace va a estar en la descripción para que lo puedan bajar. Lo único que necesitan hacer es meter su correo electrónico y van a tener el libro en 15 minutos. Eso es todo para el video de hoy. Los quiero un montón. Un gran abrazo para cada uno de ustedes. Love you guys. We love you. Big, big hug to everyone. And like we always say here in the Academy, arriba, guerreros, warriors, rise.
I love it.
Get your shit together. Let's go.
Get your shit together, baby.